Making $400,000 a year in Manhattan, you'd think you'd live like royalty, right? Well, spoiler alert, it may not be that penthouse that you're dreaming of, but what you can actually afford in Manhattan may surprise you, and it's way better than what people think. I'm Dewey Moss, and after nearly 30 years of living in New York City and the Manhattan real estate market, I know the real numbers, the real pitfalls, and the real opportunities. So if you want to buy smarter and avoid getting ripped off, stick around because I'm breaking down exactly what $400,000 a year will buy you in Manhattan. And I'm also offering my exclusive buyer's cheat sheet so that you can be prepared to outsmart the market. Here's what most people get wrong. They look at their take-home pay, but in Manhattan, co-op boards especially look at your gross pay for the debt-to-income ratio approvals. That means they're going to count your entire $400,000 salary when they're considering whether or not you should be approved to buy in the co-op. Now, that may not be the smartest option for you in terms of practical living, but we're going to use that as the benchmark for this video and assume that you have very little debt otherwise. This single fact of using the full $400,000 can boost your buying power, and if you don't look at it that way, you may be leaving options and money on the table. So let's look at the real-time math. Now, we're using a co-op in this example because condos are a different buying process and they're generally more expensive. Co-ops make up about 85% of the inventory. So chances are, if you're considering all your options, you may be purchasing a co-op. Co-ops are bought and sold every day in this city, no matter what you may have heard, but they do have very strict rules, and you must understand those rules when buying. Now, one of the common mistakes that buyers make is that they only look at the mortgage payment they can afford and try to add that into your debt-to-income ratio. But in Manhattan, every building has some sort of common charge payment. In co-ops, we call that the maintenance payment. It's a monthly payment that you must add into your mortgage payment to understand what your real debt to income ratio looks like, and this is what the co-ops will be looking at. And co-ops want these expenses to be no more than 25 to 30% of your overall debt to income ratio. So you really need to take this into consideration, and in many competitive areas, they really want lower debt to income ratio, so a lower DTI is always going to be better. For this example, let's take an average of 28% debt to income ratio. So what does that actually look like when we do the math? Well, we take a $400,000 salary and we divide that by 12. That's $33,333. And then we take 28% of that, and that's $9,333. So that's a huge amount compared to what you would look at if you were looking at your after-tax pay. So that really does boost your buying power. So now let's base our buying power on $9,000 a month, just so we can get a little leeway there with our finances. And let's see the reality of what $9,000 will get you in Manhattan. With a $9,000 monthly budget, you're looking at apartments under the $1 million range, roughly between $850,000 and $950,000. Generally speaking, that's going to put you in a good one-bedroom, depending on the neighborhood. So let's take an example of a one-bedroom on the Upper East Side. Now let's say we've gone through negotiations and the price we've settled on is $900,000 for this one bedroom. The building requires 25% down, so that's $225,000 you need to put down. That gives us $675,000 for the mortgage, and let's say at 7%, even though that interest rate now is a bit high because interest rates are ticking down, which is a good thing. But let's say at 7%, that's going to give us a mortgage payment of $4,500 a month. Now the maintenance payment for this apartment is $1,800 a month, and let's say your insurance and your other costs are about $600 a month. That gives us a grand total of $6,900 a month. Now, technically, that's way under your $9,000 budget, but what that does is that puts you in really good standing with the co-op because you're well below your debt to income ratio that they require, and you're in a great one bedroom in a great neighborhood. You're not looking at just a studio or a shoebox apartment. So there are definite wins here by knowing the numbers and knowing your opportunities and what you can afford. Of course, a higher price means more cash up front that you need, and in Manhattan, there are some special criteria that the co-op boards set forth that you need to meet. For example, you will need some reserves. We call that post-close liquidity, and that generally means that the co-op wants to see 2 years worth of mortgage and maintenance sitting in the bank at the time of closing, that kind of thing. There are some hidden costs that you may not know about that you need to consider when you're buying in Manhattan because you have to prove that you have these resources, these financial resources. So let's break down in our example exactly what those financial requirements in cash would look like. Now, we've already established that you need your down payment in cash. That's $225,000. Your closing costs are going to range between $20,000 and $25,000. Your post-close liquidity is going to equal roughly $150,000 that you need to prove that you have sitting in an account somewhere that is liquid. And then your moving and immediate expenses are going to be about $15,000. So the grand total that you need to be able to access in some sort of liquid form in cash is $410,000 to $415,000. Yes, it's a big number, but that big number is your ticket to buying a solid one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. So where in Manhattan does a $900,000 budget stretch the most? Well, chances are you're looking at the Upper East Side, you're looking at the Financial District, maybe Murray Hill, Midtown East, and probably in Chelsea if you're looking on the West Side. You're most likely still priced out of some of the higher priced areas like Tribeca and West Village unless you want to go with a studio. Again, these are personal choices that you're going to discuss with someone who's going to help you put all those puzzle pieces together. If you wanted to look at something small, then you might venture into some of those higher priced areas. So here are some tips to help you make the most of that $400K salary. Number one, concentrate on buildings that have a maintenance payment of under $2,000 a month. Number two, look for listings that have been on the market 60 plus days because there may be some leverage and negotiability there. Number three is focus on co-ops for the best value because most likely they're going to be about 15 to 20% cheaper than condos in New York City. Number four, get a really great buyer's agent on your side who understands co-ops and understands the process so that they can help pre-qualify you and match you to the buildings that will get you approved. Number five, and this is an important one, get a pre-approval with a lender who works with New York City co-ops. That means a lender in New York City who does this every day. So many buyers come to the city and they say, well, I have a great bank, it's out in Iowa or even in New Jersey. Most likely these people do not concentrate or specialize in co-ops, even though they may say they have, and it will cause you lots of headaches. So make sure you get a lender who specializes in co-ops in New York City and you'll be well on your way. Now, here's the deal. A lot of agents won't tell you the truth about all this because they want you to think that you need to make millions to be able to buy in Manhattan. But with the right strategy and the right math, a $400K salary can absolutely get you a legit one bedroom, maybe a little larger if we're lucky, in Manhattan. I'm giving away my free New York City buyer's cheat sheet that has a lot of information that you need to know before you even consider buying in New York City. You can download that at the link below. And if you're serious about buying in the next 6 to 12 months, don't wait. That's my advice because as the interest rates go down, which is a good thing, prices may start going up. Right now in Manhattan, inventory is tight and inventory has been sitting on the market a while, so there may be some good leverage for buyers out there who are serious. So if you're serious about buying, let's book a 15-minute consultation call. You can find that link down in the description below. I'll review your situation and I'll be very honest and let you know exactly what it looks like you can afford and what that strategy is going to be for success for buying in Manhattan. And hey, drop an example salary and your dream neighborhood down in the comments below and I'll let you know with an honest opinion exactly what you should be looking for and where. And if this was helpful and opened your eyes about New York City real estate, then be sure to like, subscribe, and smash that notification button so that you can stay up to date with no BS real estate advice about the New York City market. We release videos every week. I'm Dewey Moss and I'll see you next time.